So I built Delta V, which is basically a modular data layer that allows you to aggregate data into disparate data streams and then take action off of those data points using triggers. So how it works is the user will walk through their flow and they'll be able to add like if-then triggers based on certain things that happen on chain, and we can actually execute transactions on chain for you based on these triggers. So I'm going to explain more in a sec, but a bit more about the problem. So data moves super fast, especially in Web3. There's 11.1 transactions per second on Ethereum. And additionally, the data aggregation process is super complex and hard to manage. So we spoke to a bunch of companies and they spend around like $100,000 in just setting up their data pipeline, pulling from different sources for the purpose of analytics. And one of the other problems that we thought about was how fake news travels 6 times as fast as true, like as the truth, because it goes viral. So how we were thinking about how can we act on truthful data, like on-chain truthful data, without having to rely on third-party sources. So that's where Delta V comes in. So we aggregate data from a bunch of different data sources. We pulled from like 6 different sources for our project, RPC providers, the Graph, Airstack, QuickNode, Dune, and Etherscan. And DeFi Llama. And we aggregated all this data into an API endpoint. And then based on that endpoint, you can take actions such as buying a token, swapping a token, entering a liquidity pool, or sending an airdrop. So now I'm going to demo. So this is our login. So I can connect to my wallet. Okay, so now I've connected my wallet. Cool. So now we go to the endpoint. So these endpoints are an aggregation of different data sources that I've created. So I can call this an alpha's endpoint, and I can even add a custom contract address that I want to track. So if I wanted to add the contract address and the ABI, we pull in the data from that. So I can also, we focused on financial, like DeFi data. So I can pull in Uniswap data. Let's say I want the sum of swaps for token and maybe how many people are withdrawing. And I can also look at the same for lending. So I could look at maybe the APY or the TVL. And I can also track the same data for tokens. So these data points are data that we've pulled from different data sources and allow the user to choose like what they're interested in tracking. So now I have this and I can publish my endpoint. And if I go back to the endpoints page, you can see that it created. And now, so I can see the data in this data stream that we pull from different data sources. And now that I have this aggregational data endpoint, I can create an action. So let's say swap. I'm going to call it like swap tokens. I can specify a contract address. I think this is the Uniswap. I think it's like it's a pool. It's a pool address. So this is the contract address of which I want to take an action on. And then I can choose the field. So let's say I want to withdraw from this pool. If there are greater than 500 withdrawals total, then I want to swap USD to WETH, for example, and like $1,000. I don't know why, like for this, I don't know why, maybe like, I don't know, or maybe with like, let's say the TVL of this is greater than a lot of money, then I want to swap USD to WETH for this amount. And then I can save this action. And then we have a listener that wakes up every 5 seconds and checks if this condition has occurred on chain. So if TVL is greater than that amount, then we will execute using account abstraction and Biconomy's SDK. We will execute the transaction on chain for you. And where you use a Gnosis safe so that you can hold the funds in advance and you pre-sign the transaction. So yeah, that's what we built. Yeah, and you can see that the endpoints are up and running.
Awesome. The user, I didn't see that user deposited the token state.
It's not in our workflow at the moment. Yeah, it's like a separate process. We need to integrate them. So yeah.
Can we possibly do time-based
Filter.
actions here?
Yeah, we are planning on adding that because that's a huge thing. Like, what if things change so much? I don't want to have to go through all of them. Like, I want to set. We basically want to be able to set like limit orders, with expiration dates. Yeah. One of the things that we've also thought about is like like maybe implementing like MPC so that you can get like signatures. Maybe you want signatures from 3 people. They can sign in advance, and then you can execute based on that.
What's the incentive for the relayers of the executors?
And all of the executors, well, we pay the transaction costs.
Decentralized.
Yeah, we are thinking about how can we decentralize it.
No, but even for the decentralized system, like what's the incentive for you guys to provide this service as like you're there? What's the incentive that you're going to actually post that action on chain?
Yeah, like in terms of the business model of it. Yeah, I mean, maybe we would take not necessarily a fee, but charge like a small amount per transaction or something like that. Yeah, we didn't exactly think about like that portion of it, but I think we could take like a fee per transaction, or you get 10 actions per month, something like that, for like a set amount of money. Yeah. Cool.
Well, now we need to list all the action for your right?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. What did you say? Oh, yeah.
I have like so many times that I need exactly this.
Oh, yeah. Oh.